I'm not one to get very excited when a game calls itself retro-inspired. As much as I enjoyed the games that are now retro growing up, going back to them is often really painful, but Sea of Stars did it right. It took the right blend of retro, added new things, and this game I can't recommend enough. Let's talk about it. Welcome back, Classy Crew, to a review that isn't Monster Hunter, what is Switch, or Devil May Cry. Sea of Stars, an RPG that is retro-inspired from games like Chrono Trigger, and I'm even going to say like Mario and Luigi. This is a game I wish I could really talk about the details of the story and the events that unfold, but for your benefit, I'm going to make this a spoiler-free review because the game is just so nice to experience without someone ruining it for you. So I'm going to talk about the mechanics, the story, what I liked, my impressions, but I will not uncover the little secret sauces of this game that will catch you by surprise, I hope, because it surely caught me by surprise, and it left me at the end really satisfied with the events of everything that happened. One of my favorite games of all times, much like many others, is Chrono Trigger. It's the game that I feel really perfected what the RPG model should be in the 90s. And in fact, it seems so good they are afraid to remake it for whatever reason. I know that there's a reason. You don't have to get into the details of that. So Sea of Stars borrows from, like, you can just look at any game footage of Sea of Stars and it evokes Chrono Trigger. So that's what it means by inspired. You've got a party of three that, that's drawn in a very similar art style. And in combat, you get to use these combos, which is also very similar to Chrono Trigger, which I pretty much is known for doing it first, or at least for making it mainstream. I say it's inspired by Mario and Luigi because there's timing elements in the actual mechanics. So it's a turn-based RPG. You take turns attacking, and if you time your hit at a certain point, you do more damage, and if you time your block when you're defending, you take less damage. It's not to the level of Expedition 33 where you can nullify all damage, but it still helps in the long run. So I think that's a pretty good segue to get into the battle system. It's not too complicated. I mean, you run into the enemies on the overworld, and then you go off into, well, first we got to talk about the awesome battle music, which is going to either annoy you or ingrain itself into your mind. The dun 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 dun. Like that plays, if you're playing this game all the way through, you're probably going to be in for about 30 hours, and you're going to be humming that like crazy. They never change it up, which I think they could have at some point. But after a while, like I think I went mildly annoyed, and then it just sunk its like teeth into me, and I'm like, okay, I just love it. It's gonna go. So the unique aspect that Sea of Stars brings to the table is this lock system, which every enemy can use, and bosses really lean on it a lot. And what it is if they're about to do like a super move or a special, there's gonna be these locks that show up on top of them. And to break the locks, you have to do a specific move. So the first time you encounter the enemy or the boss, you're not going to know what the lock is, and you have to experiment. Do I have to use a sword attack on it? Do I have to use like a hammer attack? Do I have to use a sun attack? So once you figure out what the lock is, then you have to actually, eventually when it's unveiled, you actually have to get good at doing your combos and moves so that you can break those locks, because oftentimes it tells you how many moves you have before the enemy uses his super. It could be 1 to 3 turns. And so you got to really get strategic in what do you prioritize. Sometimes you can't break all the locks. Sometimes breaking the locks just reduces the damage of the super move. So that's a really interesting mechanic. The combos, as I mentioned before, they're like Chrono Trigger inspired, but they also have their specific element. So if you take your sword user and you do a combo with the moon power user, like you might be able to inflict sword and moon damage with one attack and one turn. So that also gets very strategic in how you do things. As you're landing more skills, you're increasing your hit points, your skill points, so that you can actually do your combos. And then you're also charging up a gauge eventually in the game, which you can, once it's full, you can use an ultimate, which every character has a really cool ultimate with like a huge cutscene. Don't worry, I learned later on you can actually skip the cutscene, so you don't have to watch it every time, but they're pretty cool to see. And the other thing is this is also a little later in the game. You get to have a special like enchantment to your weapons, where if you do a normal attack on a monster, they're going to like shed these like little orbs on the ground, and any character in your party can absorb those little orbs to pretty much empower their normal attack. So let's say, again, you've got your user that uses sun power. And I mean, it's called Sea of Stars. The whole thing revolves around the sun and the moon. We're going to talk about the story in a moment. But let's say you've got some orbs on the ground and you need to do a sword damage with sun power on it. Your sun energy user can absorb the sun energy, imbue it in his sword for one turn, and then when he attacks, he's doing sword and sun damage. So there's a strategic element there. And there's also a type of monster in the game which only can take damage from these like enchanted weapons. So at that point, you're going to be like strategically, okay, I should do a normal attack here to like get the little marbles on the ground. And then this character needs to like keep absorbing that so I can actually deal out damage. So let's talk about the story from a very high level without spoiling anything. You're basically in a world that is cursed with these things called dwellers, which are essentially like seeds of evil that grow throughout the land. And there's only a certain type of warrior that can defeat these things. They're called solstice warriors. I think it's because they're warriors born on the solstice, but more importantly, they command the power of the moon and the sun. And that's who our main characters are in this story. You've got Zale and Valir. Zale, who embodies the power of the sun, Valir, who embodies the power of the moon. You can pretty much pick who you want to be as your protagonist. It doesn't change the story at all. And their best friend Garl joins you on their adventure. At first, he's a little bit of a deadweight, like in the really early on, like you see the story of them as kids, and Garl does some. He's like, I want to play, I want to tag along. It's like, you have no powers, why are you coming with us? And I have to say, Garl is to Sea of Stars what Samwise Gamgee is to Lord of the Rings. This boy is so brimming with positivity and support. It's actually really endearing, and I feel in the video game world, we need more Garls. He's so positive, and he's just unburdened by the darkness in the world, and it radiates into every encounter that you go. Everyone you meet, he's always like, he basically becomes, this again is not a spoiler, but his main role in the party is he's a warrior cook, which is pretty cool. So like his power, he's like, well, I got no powers, but I'm gonna feed you guys. That's what he basically does. So wherever he goes, he's always trying to bring like comfort and goodness to all. And I feel that, like, you know, we're all bombarded by so much negativity every day in the world. Like, we're all exposed to all the horrors of all the bad things going on in the world. If the world had more Garls or celebrated more Garls, what a wonderful world this would be. So if there's one thing I took away from this game is be a little bit more like Garl, and if you play the game, you'll understand what I mean. So that's the story. So you set off, you see the backstory of their training and all that, you become Solstice Warriors, and it's like, all right, let's go take down evil dwellers, and a lot happens after that I cannot share with you. All I can say is the energy of the story carries the perfect level of adventure, and the characters, especially Garl as the innocent kind of character, he just wants to have the best adventure, whereas, you know, his two best friends are all like, well, we have this burden of being these Solstice Warriors and ridding the world of evil. But there's like this spirit of adventure, which is really like exciting to join them on. And everything that you discover throughout the world, whether it be like this massive sleeping dragon or a big boulder guy named, I'm not going to spoil his name, it's a funny name. You keep encountering these mythical fantasy-based creatures, which are just always interesting. And I find that they've done a really good, like, it just reminds me of the good old adventure books or games or stories of my childhood, where there's always a new surprise, that you're learning that the world is just full of diverse creatures and stories to share. And I really love that about it. I will say also the story, you will eventually, if you play it, you're going to make it to the end. Don't stop the game there. There are multiple endings. There is the ending that everyone will see, and then there's the ending for those dedicated that oftentimes is considered the good ending, which can only be unlocked if you do all the side quests. And I think that is such a great mechanic. That does not unlock, like, you can't go through the game, do all the side quests, and see the good ending. You have to get the base ending first, then some stuff unlocks, and then you can finish off all the side quests. And that's when you can get a really cool different ending. That's all I'm gonna say. And the side quests are not boring, like go kill 5 pigs and make some bacon. These are really, like, all of the side quests, there's only a few of them, really, like half a dozen or so. The reward you get out of them are like every character's super weapon. So it's pretty worthwhile doing. What else is there in the subquest that I want to talk about? Oh, there is a collectathon thing. There's an item, again, I'm not gonna spoil it. There's this item that you're gonna find throughout the world that you're gonna keep collecting, and you have to find all of them as part of the side quest. That was a little bit more of a chore because I didn't realize the game had a built-in mechanic to find these things. So I had a guide open and I'm like, oh man, I have to go back to these regions. Did I find this thing here? I was doing that, and then I heard someone talk about a parrot, and I'm going to share it with you so you guys don't miss it. At a certain point in the game, you get a parrot that when you open your map, the parrot tells you, oh, there's another thing here on this island. There's another thing here on this island. And it actually narrows it down for you in terms of which area you need to search for your missing collectibles. I'm like, oh, so you don't need a guide. I mean, if you really can't find it. But otherwise, there's that. There's a cooking part to the game. So of course, as Garl being our cook, anybody can cook. So throughout the game, you're going to be picking up a lot of ingredients in the field, and then you can use, if you have the recipes, you can actually cook all of your healing items. They can heal your HP, your MP. That's kind of a cool mechanic. On the level of like difficulty, I find a lot of my items, like I was consuming in a well-balanced way. The game does a really good job at balancing. Like if you're really good at RPGs, and you're gonna probably find this game is not really challenging. I defeated all the boss, side boss, everything, and it never felt overwhelming, frustrating. Like there's a nice kind of climb to the difficulty, but it never gets ridiculously hard. And I think some people will be disappointed with that. But ultimately, it's just a nice, comfortable pace where I just don't mind. And if you're really into like challenges, there are items that you can pick up that does make the game harder, which I did not dabble with. So if you are looking for a challenge, that is there. Things that are like fight these things that equip these items that lower your HP, but give you like a buff. Like there are some trade-off items that you could mess around with. There's also a really cool minigame that unlocks eventually called Wheels. And just like a lot of RPGs that have like these card games, this game's version is basically this board game that has wheels that you can spin 3 times, and it has really cool like ASMR sounds because it's like a mechanical table. So when like you're spinning the wheels, you can hear all like the clunk, clunk, clunk. It's really satisfying. So before starting, like you have 2 characters that you can pick on each side of the board. Like for example, a knight, an archer, a priest, a thief, and so on, an engineer. You don't have all of the characters at first. I think you start off with the knight and the archer, the knight and the mage, and then you're pretty much fighting opponents that give you better wheels and they give you better characters to play with. So the whole point is you're buffing up your characters to try to attack the castle of your opponent, which has 10 hit points. So you're basically trying to do 10 damage to your opponent before they do 10 damage to you. And when you're spinning your wheels, it's almost like Yahtzee, the dice game, where you can hold on. I think there's 5 slots, and you spin the wheel, and you're like, I want to keep this one, but spin these other 3 wheels. Okay, I'll keep this one, and I'll spin that last wheel. Or you're like, you could spin 1 time and be like, that's good, let's lock it in place. The choices are you can either build your defenses, a wall to protect your castle. You can either power up your right character, you can power up your left character. That's pretty much all you can do. So it's a bit of a game of luck, but there is some level of strategy to it. It's really fun until you eventually meet up the champion, which uses a thief and a priest. If you play the game and you meet that combo, prepare to grind your teeth. I spent a game usually takes maybe 3 minutes. I spent an hour fighting this thing, which was the worst mechanic because the thief doesn't do a lot of damage, but he interrupts you. So if one of your characters is about to attack, the thief is going to go like, nope, you're delayed a turn, and then he's going to stab your castle for 1 damage. And the priest makes the thief move faster and heals their castle. So you're stuck pretty much always getting denied your attacks while the thief is stabbing your castle 1 HP at a time and kills you. It's the most frustrating gameplay. It's broken, and you can only pretty much win through sheer determination and a lot of luck that you're spinning the right things. I hated that part of the game. That's pretty much the only thing I hated. Everything else was good. The enemies, even the boss, like the big bad, which I'm not going to share who that is. The big bad is a really well-written character, I find, in terms of his motivations and stuff like that. And all of the NPCs that you run into and the key characters are just fun. It's a fun story. It's a fun game. And I really enjoyed playing it. So that's why I decided to make this review so that I could share it with all of you. I know a lot of people have already talked about it. It's been out for a couple years. You've probably already touched upon it. But this is my thoughts on the game. And as someone who enjoys RPG and who grew up in the 90s, it's perfect for me. But I don't think you need to have grown up in the 90s to appreciate a good game. So give it a try if you have the chance. I think it's on all consoles, PC. I played on Steam. I picked it up on sale, but I would say it's pretty much worth the price. But that's for you to decide. So I'll see you on the next journal or maybe on stream. And until next time, keep it classy.